Hello students, greetings to you all. Hope you're all safe and good. I'm happy to get back to you all through this fifth video session. I know time is not very easy, things are getting very worse. So make sure that you stay home, take care of your parents. As you are in your house, make sure that you help them and keep them comfortable, and you also be engaged by doing something productive all the day. Okay, so now let's move on to the fifth session. So far we have completed chapter 1 and chapter 3. The name of our first chapter is force. We completed that, and next we finished machines, third chapter. And today we are going to start a new chapter. It's the seventh chapter, and the name of the chapter is sound. So when I say sound, what immediately comes to your mind is some good music and some unpleasant sound, that is noise. So there are good sounds and bad sounds. You call them as a pleasant sound and noise. And what are we going to learn in this chapter? So before we could see what we are going to learn, let's see what you know about sound. So when I ask you a question, what is sound? You would immediately say it is a form of energy. And sound travels in the form of waves. How is sound produced? It is produced by some vibration. And you also know sound wave has to travel from one place to another place. If I am talking here, the audio comes out of your speaker, has to reach your ears. So the sound travels from the speaker to your ears. So sound has to travel for a person to hear the sound. And this sound can travel in solid, liquid and gas. Sound needs a medium to travel. It cannot travel in vacuum. Whereas light can travel in vacuum, but sound cannot travel in vacuum. And there are so many things which you have learned so far in the topic sound. So what are we going to learn in this chapter? In this chapter, you are going to learn something which you have not learned before. Or I can say, you would have learned about it, but you are going to learn the same topic in a very detailed way. So before we could go into the very deep portion of this chapter, we will be brushing up with few of the basic concepts of sound. Okay, when I say sound is something that we can hear. Is there a sound that we are not able to hear? Yes, there is sound which is inaudible, so unaudible to us, but it is audible to some other creatures. For example, see, this is a very beautiful chart. I think you'll be able to find where human is in this. So we are somewhere here. Humans are here. So the audible range of human here is given as 31 Hz to 19 kHz. But as for us, what you have learnt is 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. So that is actually the average value. So there are human beings who can hear to the range of 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. But here they have given a very different data. So let's just forget the data that's given here, but stick on to what's in your book for now. It's 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz is the audible range of a human being. What about other creatures? See, there are animals which can hear frequencies lower than our frequency, and there are animals which can hear frequency greater than our frequency. See here, when we see this, it's very interesting. This particular creature is able to hear a very small range of frequency. What is that? That is a brown bat. So this brown bat frequency, where does it go? It goes greater than 10 Hz. So less than 10 Hz, it cannot hear. It can hear only sound that is greater than 10 Hz. The frequency which is greater than 10 Hz. And it has a very small range. And which creature has the largest range? That is, ferret has a long range, elephants have long range, and so many other animals, they have a long range. So there are animals which can hear frequencies almost as same as ours, and there are animals which can hear frequencies less than 20 hertz and greater than 20 hertz. So for a human being, the audible range is only 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. And then you would have learnt about few characteristics of sound waves. The words like amplitude, wavelength, frequency, time period. So we are going to learn about all these four right now. So it is not just a brushing up, it is something that is in your lesson. Okay, first we'll talk about amplitude. What is amplitude? Amplitude is the maximum displacement of particle of medium on either side of its mean position. So, if you consider this as your graph or the waveform of your sound wave, so this is your mean position. So, this line here is your mean position. So, you have a maximum displacement here. So, if you go down, it is called as the maximum displacement in the negative direction. And this is the maximum displacement in the positive direction. And this is what we will call it as the amplitude. What do you mean by this displacement of particle? As you know, when I speak, when the sound comes out of your speaker, what does it do? The sound that comes out of the speaker will disturb the air molecules near the speaker. So what are the particles that are involved? The molecules. Air molecules are the particles that are involved in this condition. So this sound disturbs the air molecules. So the particles are disturbed. How much are they disturbed? There is a displacement. Displacement is moving from one position to another position. So if initially it was in 0 centimeter, now the particle has gone to 5 centimeter, then the displacement is 5 centimeter. So the maximum displacement of a particle of a medium. So the maximum displacement of a particle of a medium on either side of the mean position. Why do we call it as either side of the mean position? Because it is a to and fro motion. What do you mean by to and fro motion? It goes this way and it goes the other way. To and fro motion is more like a swing. It keeps going like this and like this and like this and like this. So if I consider this as the mean position, then the maximum displacement is what we will call it as the amplitude. So how does sound travel? It travels in the form of a wave, and this travel is because of the disturbance of the particle. What kind of disturbance? It is a vibration. It is a to and fro motion. I believe you are able to understand this. So amplitude is nothing but the maximum displacement of the particle of a medium on either side of its mean position. Moving on to the next. What do you mean by frequency? Frequency is very simple. Like I said, it is just a vibration. Vibration means it is a to and fro motion. To and fro motion means goes this side and comes back. Goes, comes back. Goes and comes back. So this is how the particle keeps vibrating. And this vibration produces sound. And because of this vibration, we are able to get some amplitude. And the sound is traveling. How many vibrations happen in a time period is what we call it as a frequency. For example, I'm going to consider 1 second. So in 1 second, how many vibrations can happen? The number of vibrations in 1 second, I will call it as a frequency. You might have used this word frequency very often. You're going and standing. Okay, what you do right now, we'll talk about what you do right now. You're watching TV. While you're watching TV, the frequency of advertisements. If the advertisement comes very often, for every 5 minutes, if they put an ad, then you'll say, oh, they are very frequently they are putting advertisement. If they put advertisement once in half an hour, oh, they are putting the advertisement less frequently. If it comes very often, the frequency is more. If it comes after a very long time, the frequency is less. So the number of times the vibration happening in a time period is what we will call it as frequency. What is time period? Time period is very simple. So when I say vibration, it involves to and fro motion. What do you mean by to and fro? This is the particle. This red dot is the particle. This particle is vibrating. It goes up and it comes down. Okay? And again it goes up and it comes down. And it goes up and it comes down. So it is vibrating. What is the time period? We will calculate the time period for one complete cycle. That is for one to and fro motion. If it is starting from one position, how long does it take to come back to the same position? You can calculate time period in many ways. See, as is given in this graph, you can take two peaks and you can find the time period. Or it's very easy to consider one full wave from here to here. One crust and a trough. In that way, we will be able to calculate the exact time period of a wave. And the next word is wavelength. Wavelength, what do you mean by wavelength? Wavelength is nothing but the distance traveled by a wave in one time period. If I am considering this as my time period, and this is my wavelength. Okay, if I am considering this from the 0 to it coming back to 0, one positive cycle and negative cycle, then what will be my wavelength? My wavelength will be from here to here. So this will be my wavelength. Wavelength is nothing but the distance traveled by a wave in one time period of vibration is what we call it as a wavelength. So far we have seen amplitude, wavelength, frequency and time period. So now we are going to learn something new called wave velocity. What do you mean by velocity? Velocity is equal to distance by time. You know that, right? So it's a very common formula which you have been learning from your maybe 6th standard or even less than that. So velocity is equal to distance by time. So what is the time here? Time period also represents time. Frequency also represents time. How? Frequency and time are related. How are they related? I can write F is equal to 1 by T. So that is the relation between frequency and time. Okay, so F is equal to 1 by T. So you have a 1 by T here. What happens? V is equal to, so I can write this 1 by T as F now. So I have a value. For a 1 by T, I put F. And D is nothing but the distance. So what is the distance factor here? Immediately what will come to your mind is amplitude is the distance. No, amplitude is the maximum displacement. But when I say wavelength, this is the actual distance. So instead of distance, I'm going to put lambda. Okay, we are taking our old formula, velocity is equal to distance by time. Here, I can write velocity is equal to distance into 1 by T. Okay, I think you're able to understand now. Distance into 1 by T I can write. So for instead of 1 by T, I have written frequency because frequency is equal to 1 by T. And distance is nothing but it is a length. So instead of distance, I am putting wavelength. Now I have a new formula. Our wave velocity is equal to lambda into f, where lambda is the wavelength and f is the frequency. So this is the entire set of formulas involved. As I told you, wave period or time period is equal to 1 by frequency. So T is equal to 1 by S, and you can also write F is equal to 1 by T. And wave period is wavelength by velocity. So T is equal to lambda by V, or you just stick on to what I told you earlier. So this is our formula. So from the formula V is equal to frequency into lambda. You can write all these. So we saw that V is equal to F lambda, that is frequency into wavelength. So I can rearrange this and I can get all these formulas. I can find the wavelength, or I can find the frequency simply by interchanging the position of all these factors. Okay. So what is the name of this formula? This formula is called as the wave formula. So what is the wave formula? It's very simple. V is equal to lambda by T. What is V? V is the wave speed. So here is a question for you. V being wave speed is equal to frequency into wavelength, and frequency you can also write it as 1 by T. Now, what determines the speed of the wave, or what is the reason behind or what factor affects the speed of wave?
So children, try to find the answer for this and send it to me in the group. I just want to know how many of you are following the video, and I want your response. Every teacher would like to have a response from the students. So only when we get the response from the students side, it would be interesting for us to do it more efficiently and effectively. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. So we learnt about the basic characteristics of a sound wave. How do sound wave propagate? Propagation is nothing but travel. So how do sound travel? Sound wave, it needs a medium to travel. It cannot travel in vacuum. It definitely needs a medium. Why does it need a medium? That's because there is a transfer of energy by the wave. So in the case of sound, what happens is energy is being transferred through the vibration of the particles in the medium. So what happens is, just imagine that 10 of you are sitting in a straight line. I give one ball to one person. This ball transfers the ball to the next person to the third one to the fourth one to the fifth, and fifth one to the sixth. So now this ball is the pack of energy. This energy is being passed on from one person to another person. And the ball is also traveling from one place to another place. The ball has traveled from the first person to the last person. So the ball has gone from the first person to the last person, and also it is being transferred from one person to another. The first person did not throw the ball to the 10th person right away. But what did he do? He gives to the second to third to fourth. So this is how sound wave travels. See here, as you can see in this picture, the sound that comes out of the speaker, it creates a small disturbance. This disturbance is nothing but energy. This energy is being passed on from one particle to another particle, and the sound reaches its destination. So in the case of a sound, a transfer of energy takes place. And so whenever there is energy, we will say that there is a change of kinetic energy into potential energy, or potential energy to kinetic energy in the particle. I believe you know what is kinetic energy and potential energy. Kinetic energy is the energy possessed by the object by the virtue of its motion. Potential energy, virtue of its position. So object that is at rest will have potential energy. Object in motion will have kinetic energy. So here, this transfer of energy takes place as sound propagates from one point to another point. That means there is a change in kinetic energy and potential energy. And that is why sound waves are called as mechanical waves. That's why they are called as mechanical waves or elastic waves. So I told you about the propagation of sound. Sound wave propagates from one position to another position. That is, it travels. How does it travel? It transfers energy from one particle to another particle, and that is why it travels from one position to the destined or the end position, maybe from a speaker to our ears. And this transfer of energy is nothing but change in kinetic energy and potential energy. So we call this sound wave as elastic wave or mechanical wave. Okay, when I say elastic wave or mechanical wave, there are two types of mechanical wave: longitudinal wave and transverse wave. So we'll see what are longitudinal wave and transverse wave. What are longitudinal wave? Longitudinal wave means there is a compression and rarefaction. That is, see, this portion shows the example for a longitudinal wave. Here, the disturbance starts here, and the direction of the wave, direction in which the wave travels, and the disturbance of the particle. See, we are going to take two things into consideration. One is the direction of travel of the wave and the disturbance of particle. Both are in the same direction. As you can see, this is compression and rarefaction. Here, the compression starts here and it gets moved on to the next position. See, the compression is moving in this direction, and compression is along the particle movement is along the direction of the wave. So this is our longitudinal wave. Whereas this is an example for our transverse wave. What happens? It travels from this position to this position. The propagation of the wave, the travel of the wave is in this position, in horizontal, whereas the disturbance of the particle is in a vertical position. So there is a perpendicular disturbance in the particle, or I can simply say crust and trough. Okay, so here in the case of transverse wave, it is a crust and trough. The direction of the wave is in this direction. The disturbance of the particle is it goes up and down, up and down. So the direction of the wave and the disturbance of the particle are not in the same direction. But here the wave is going in this direction. This disturbance, compression, this is compression and this is rarefaction. This compression and rarefaction is also going in this direction. So this is what we call it as a longitudinal wave, where both are in same direction, and this is what we call it as transverse wave, where they are in different direction. So out of longitudinal wave and transverse wave, what type of wave is our sound? Here is another good way to demonstrate this compression and rarefaction. This is how the particles, the air molecules compress, rarefact, compress, rarefact. See this small red dot. This red dot moves along with the... So this is one very good example for compression and rarefaction of air molecules. Okay, now moving on to our sound. Our sound can act both as a longitudinal wave and as a transverse wave, but at different conditions. It cannot be a longitudinal wave always, and it cannot be a transverse wave all the time. Sound acts as a longitudinal wave when sound travels through air, water, inside solid and liquid. For example, you go into the water. When you are inside the water, deep into the water, and you are talking. See, if this is your swimming pool, you are sitting inside and you are talking from one person to another person. I know it's quite very hard to hear, but still in that place, sound travels as a longitudinal wave. That is compression and rarefaction. Okay. And in air, of course, I showed you the previous slide. In air, it travels in the form of a longitudinal wave, compression and rarefaction. Even in solid, When you put your ears in one end of a table and if you bang on the other end of the table, you will be able to hear the sound. How did it travel? It is traveling through the bench. So inside solid, inside liquid, in water, in air, it travels as a longitudinal wave. And it does act as a transverse wave where on the surface of solid and liquid. What do you mean by on the surface of? I'll give you a very small example. Take a container full of water. The container should be filled with water. A container which is filled with water, full of water. So you put your mouth on one side and you try to say something. So if you say something, what happens? You will be able to see some ripples on the water. Your sound travels on the surface of the water. And that ripples will be in this form. It will have a crust and trough. Crust and trough. So on the surface of liquid, we will be able to see. But on the surface of solid, we won't be able to see. So on the surface of liquid and solid, sound takes the form of a transverse wave. In solid, liquid and air, it takes the form of a longitudinal wave. Okay, so far we discussed about the characters of wave and how it propagates. Now, are there any factors that affect the velocity of sound? Sound definitely has a good speed. We will be discussing about it in the later part of the lesson. And I'm sure that you all know what the velocity of sound in air is. Can anybody stop or anybody reduce the velocity of sound? Yes, one person is there. And the name of the person is temperature. Why? Because when the temperature, the density of the gas decrease with the increase in temperature and with the increase in humidity in it. So the speed of the sound increase with the increase in temperature. So what happens when temperature increases, velocity of the sound increases. So if you go to this place and here the velocity of the sound is different, here the velocity of the sound is different, and here the velocity of the sound is very different. So the velocity of the sound is affected by temperature. What about pressure? No. The velocity of the sound is only affected by temperature and not by the pressure. The speed of sound is not affected by the change in pressure, but it is affected by the change in temperature. How is it affected? The speed of the sound increases with the increase in temperature. So here when the temperature increases, the speed of the sound also increases. Okay. So I say sound is a wave. Light is also a wave. Light can reflect, it can refract. What about sound? Can sound do all that? Of course, yes. There are certain qualities which are very similar to that of there are certain qualities which are similar for sound wave and light wave. And of course, there are so many differences between a sound wave and a light wave. We'll see what are the differences. Here, the light waves are electromagnetic waves. Electromagnetic waves are, you'll be learning it in your higher classes. They have the properties of electric and magnetic field. But here these sound waves are just mechanical waves. So light waves are electromagnetic waves, but sound waves are mechanical waves. And this, you know, it can travel in vacuum, but this definitely needs a medium to travel. Velocity of light is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Of sound is just 330 meter per second. The velocity of sound is greater than the velocity of light is greater than the velocity of sound, and that is why thunder and lightning happen at the same moment. At the same time it actually happens, but we will see the lightning first and hear the thunder later. Two people are running from one point. Imagine a running race, or everybody is starting in the same point, but nobody comes and reaches at the same time. One person will come first, second, third, and one person will come at the end. Similarly, in thunder and lightning starts at the same time. But what happens, since light can run fast, it comes and reaches us first, and thunder, it travels very slow when compared to light, so it comes later. And wavelength of a visible light. Visible light is the light that we are able to see. Of course, there are light that we cannot see. You will learn about it in your fifth chapter, I guess. We will learn it later. So light waves that we can see has a wavelength, and similarly the sound waves that we can hear also has a range. And the very interesting thing is these waves are transverse in nature. In air, they are longitudinal in nature, and of course they can also take the transverse form on the surface of solid and liquid. So there are so many differences between sound wave and light wave. So we'll move on to the next topic, reflection of sound. What do you mean by reflection of sound? Reflection is bouncing back. Light falls on something and it bounces back. That is called reflection. You throw a ball from, you have a ball, you throw it on the wall, it comes back, it reflects. So bouncing back is what we call it as reflection. So I'm sure you would have learned this in your 9th standard, I believe. You would have learned 2 laws of reflection for light. Number 1, the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. You would have learned this. And the second one, the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal. Incident ray, reflected ray, and the normal, they all lie in the same plane. These 2 laws are exactly the same for reflection of sound. So the laws of reflection of sound are the incident angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. The incident ray, reflected ray, and the normal, they all lie in the same plane. So these are the 2 laws of reflection of sound wave. So what is the use of sound? What if sound reflects or not? Light reflects, and it is because of the reflection of light we are able to see the objects that are around us. What if sound reflects and what if it doesn't reflect? One important quality of the reflection of sound is echo. I know you all know what an echo is. You might have experienced it in your life multiple times. What is an echo? The sound heard after the reflection from a distant object. Okay, from a distant object. Reflection of sound by a distant object is what we call it as an echo. So this echo has certain conditions. So only if these conditions are satisfied, we will say that echo can happen. There are actually 3 conditions for echo. Only 2 are mentioned here. I'll tell you the third one. The first one is the distance between the source and the reflector. For example, you are here. Imagine you are here. One second. Imagine you are here and this is the hill. You speak. When you speak, the sound falls on this and it reflects back, and you are able to hear your same voice again. So reflection of sound happens. This distance has to be at least 17 meters. A minimum distance should be 17 meters for an echo to happen. And the second one is the size of the reflector should be large enough when compared to the wavelength of sound. So how does the sound travel? It goes like this, right? So here it of course reflects and comes back. Now imagine imagine another condition where you are here, and of course there is a obstacle of this size. So your sound wave travels like this. It will pass on and it will go. So what will not happen? Reflection will not happen. So the second condition is the size of the reflector. This is your reflector. Place where your sound falls and reflects is what you call it as a reflector. So the size of the reflector should be greater than the wavelength of the sound. And the third one is very important, the intensity of the sound, intensity, loudness. Only if you shout loudly, you will hear echo. If you say very softly, you will not be able to hear the echo. So the intensity of the sound should be more, or the loudness of the sound should be more for an echo to happen. So what are the things that we note in an echo is, or how do we calculate the velocity of sound with the help of echo? Velocity of the sound is equal to 2d into time. What is mean by 2d divided by t? What is d? D is distance and t is time. Why do we put 2? We know the formula. V is equal to, velocity is equal to distance by time. Yes, we know the formula. Then why does that 2 come here? Okay, we have a 2 here, 2d by t. What is the reason for 2? We will see that now. So here you have a source. This is your sound source. You have a horn. This horn sound travels from here to here, falls on this wall, and it reflects back. So how much distance does this sound travel? If you consider the distance between the boat and this wall to be d, okay, we'll consider this as d. How many times the sound is traveling? It is going from here to here and again from here to here. It travels 2 times this d. The sound travels a distance 2d to produce an echo. And that is why we put the velocity of sound, speed of sound is equal to 2d by t, because it travels 2 times the distance between the source and the reflector. So V is equal to 2d by t. So here is another thing. Echo, what have we learned so far? Echo is nothing but the reflected sound wave. And with the help of this echo, we will be able to calculate the velocity of sound. And the formula to calculate the velocity of sound is V is equal to 2d by t. How do we calculate d? It is nothing but the distance between the person and the obstacle. And how can we calculate time? We can use a stop clock to calculate the time. So we will know d and we will know t, and we will be able to calculate the velocity of sound. So don't forget, it's a very important, and it is the only formula here in this chapter. V is equal to 2d by t, where V is the velocity of sound, d is the distance between the source and the reflector, and t is the time taken. Okay, so hearing so much about echo, where is this echo used? The two main applications of echo are sound ranging and echo depth sounding. So where are these used? Sound ranging is places where you will be able to use it for finding the obstacles that comes in between. So for both these applications, we are using only ultrasonic waves. We are not using any other waves. We are using ultrasonic waves. What are ultrasonic waves? We are able to hear 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Okay. So there are frequency above 20,000 and there are frequency below 20 hertz. So below 20 hertz, we call it as infrasonic. What? Below 20 hertz, less than 20 hertz are called as infrasonic. Greater than 20,000 hertz, we call it as ultrasonic. Okay. Greater than 20,000 hertz is what we call it as an ultrasonic waves. So these ultrasonic waves are used for all the applications of echo. So why do we use ultrasonic waves? Because this ultrasonic waves can be beamed. Scatter ahad. It will not get scattered. So it will travel in a narrow beam. And it can go for a very long distance. These ultrasonic waves are not absorbed by the medium, and very importantly, they have more energy than our sound. If I am trying to do some experiment with 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, or what I am able to speak from my own voice, I will not be able to produce such energetic sounds. But in ultrasonic waves, they are more energetic than the audible sound. So this is the reason we use ultrasonic waves. The reasons are they travel undeviated, they can go as a beam, they can travel a very long distance, they are not absorbed by the medium, and they are highly energetic. And where are we using echoes, and what are the animals and the humans are using echo? So here are few examples. Dolphins use echo and bat use echo. They all use echoes to find their food and their obstacle. You know that bat is blind. I believe you all know bat is blind. It cannot see. So as it travels, it will keep on giving out this ultrasonic waves. If there is no obstacle in the front, it will not hear an echo. If there is an obstacle in the front, it will hear an echo. So once it hears echo, it will either go up or go down and escape from the obstacle. So it will go like this. It will not get hit on the obstacle, and it is safe. Though it is blind, it flies so beautifully with the help of its ultrasonic waves and the echoes that it hears. Similarly, dolphins. Dolphins also use their echoes, of course, to find their food and to find the obstacles. Humans are also using ultrasonic waves, where certain fishermen, they will have an ultrasonic wave source in their boat. They will send the ultrasonic wave into the water. If it gets reflected, they will know there is a very big group of fish under that particular area of water. They will put their net and they will catch all the fish. So it is a technique followed by the fishermen for fishing. And the next one is sonar. What do you mean by sonar? Sound navigation and ranging. Sound navigation and ranging. So this sonar is used to find the obstacles like enemy submarine, iceberg, or any sunken ship, or any mountains that are under the water. They are used for researches, for war, and they are also used for finding the obstacles during the journey in any ship. So sonar is one, and I know you are all very familiar with sonar. In the case of a sonar, every ship will have a transmitter and a receiver. This transmitter will send the ultrasonic waves. This is the source of ultrasonic waves. It will send the ultrasonic waves. The reflected ultrasonic waves are received by the receiver. And the time taken for the receiving, if for example this is sent at 45 seconds and this comes back in 60 seconds, the time taken for reflection is 60 minus 45. And we know the velocity of ultrasonic waves. So we know V, we will have T, and we will substitute in the formula. What is the formula? V is equal to 2D by T. So in this formula, we will know the values of V and T. And we will find the value of D. And it is also used in medical field for echocardiogram and ultrasonogram. Echocardiogram is used to find the or it is used in cardio treatment. Cardio treatment is for heart. It is used to get the image of a human heart. And of course, all the other organs of a human body can also be obtained with an echo. You are very familiar with the ultrasound scan. So this is what it is. So this is a liver. You can see any image of an organ inside a human body with the help of echo. And even here we are using ultrasonic waves. So that's why it's called as ultrasonogram. Here, since it is used in cardiology, we call it as echocardiogram. Okay, children, with this we are completing the first portion of 7th chapter. 7a, session 7a is over. The only formula here is V is equal to 2D by T. And the other formula is the wave formula. V is equal to F lambda. So just remember these formulas and think about it. I have attached the study material for chapter 1, chapter 3 and 7a in Google Classroom. I have attached study material. When I say study material, what comes next is the test. So kindly log in, download the study material and start preparing for the test. You will have test sometime in this week. So things are getting very hard these days. The number of people getting affected are more. Even some of our teachers are being affected by corona. So make sure that you pray for their speedy recovery and for people to get recovered and this coronavirus problem to get solved as early as as early as possible. Only person that who can help us in this condition is our God. So pray well, take care, stay inside the house, make use of the time, learn. It's good to have fun, but it's bad to have fun all the time. So make sure that you use your time in studies, spend your time in reading. Thank you, children.